All right. Well, welcome. Welcome to the Offsite Construction Series. Yay! We're super excited to have you all here and taking your time to be with us. I am certainly very, very excited about this modular construction for affordable housing. I have been actually following Rhys Kane on his posts for quite some time on LinkedIn, and so I'm super excited that he is joining us today. Modular Sure Site is my company. Modular Sure Site is basically we offer consulting for modular projects. Commercial projects is really the area that we kind of concentrate our area of expertise in, along with offering set and crane service. So thank you for being here. We do these series on the second Tuesday at 8:30 in the morning, Mountain Standard Time, along with the last Tuesday, as we are today. And happy Memorial Day weekend. I hope everybody enjoyed themselves and is getting out and starting to kind of come back into life again from all of the fun stuff that we've had going on. Briefly, I'm going to go through our partners that work with us on presenting our Offsite Construction Series. And our first one is the design, Mortgages by Design with Academy Mortgages. Unfortunately, Owen is not here today, but they offer all these great services for people that are looking to do volumetric building in construction. So please check them out if you have a chance. They have been wonderful and we love working with them. And then I'm going to introduce Matt with Mountain View Window and Doors. Matt, take it away.
Yeah, hi. So Matt McMullen, I'm a general manager at Mountain View Window and Door. We're located in Denver and Grand Junction. We are actually providing windows and exterior doors and interior doors on a $1.4 million custom home up in Grand County. So we're very familiar with modular and how it works. If you're in the Denver area or Grand Junction on the Western Slope in Colorado, please give us a call. We'd love to work with you.
Thank you, Matt. Our next partner is Greg Crom with 303 Development. They are a design build firm. Actually, I brought Greg into the modular industry a couple of years ago. He is a traditional builder, so now he kind of functions with both. Greg is unfortunately not here today, but we're certainly happy to have them as one of our partners. Our next partner is Art of Construction, and I'm going to let Scott take that away. Go ahead, Scott.
Thanks, Audrey. Hello, everyone. My name is Scott, and I'm the executive producer over at Art of Construction. We're an informational and media platform for the world of construction and architecture and design. We are a podcast with almost 200 episodes and going on almost 400,000 individual listeners. Did an entire series with Audrey previously called System Built Lifestyle. And we're all about taking these forward-thinking technologies and these forward-thinking building practices and these forward-thinking people within the industry and connecting them together through media. And this Modular Sure Site presentation is something we're really proud to be a part of to help make that happen and build this community.
And we are certainly happy to have Scott here because he's like the technical guru. So thank you, Scott, to help us out. So we appreciate it.
Glad to be here.
So our presentation today is on modular construction for affordable housing. Rhys Kane, who is the Strategic Sales Director for Horizon North, is with us. Rhys Kane has extensive experience in business development, sales, and marketing in modular construction and related industries. Yay! In his current role as Strategic Sales Director with Horizon North, Rhys dedicates his efforts to key market segments, educating owners and developers of multifamily, affordable housing, and hospitality projects on the process and benefits of modular construction across Canada and the United States. Rhys is an advocate for the modular industry, making many industry presentations and sits on several working groups, and is also passionate and an advocate for affordable housing as a board director for a nonprofit housing provider in Calgary. Rhys holds a political degree in, I think it's called Cardiff University. If I badger that one, I apologize.
That's correct.
I'm going to have you take it away, Rhys. We are certainly excited to have you here. In the chat, you'll be able to see kind of how we work our presentation. And we will also be recording this for future opportunities for you to review it. So welcome. We are excited to have you. Take it away.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the kind intro. And thanks for having me here. It's a real pleasure. I obviously watch what you guys are doing, and it's awesome for the industry and great to see. Really active on LinkedIn and love all the updates. So it's really good to be a part of this. Just checking you can see my presentation now.
Yes, we are good to go.
Awesome. So agenda today, we're gonna talk about a little bit about who we are, the company I work for, what we've been involved in, including some of the benefits of what we do, modular for affordable housing. We're going to do a case study, the main sort of case study on the projects that we've been involved in for affordable housing, which is the rapid response to homelessness in British Columbia and Canada. And then if I got a chance at the end, we're going to run through some slides just on where we believe the modular industry can work together to grow the affordable housing presence with modular. So I'm here at home, obviously working in lockdown here in Canada. So if you hear a dog barking or maybe the kids might run in, I apologize for that, but it's just unfortunately the world we're living in right now. So the other thing to mention is we actually had some technical input from Scott just before, but I'm going to play some videos during the presentation. So hopefully that'll work and you'll hear the sound. I just wanted to break it up with some visuals, some time lapse and some commentary from some other people in the business. I've already had a very kind intro. I was obviously very keen, very glad to be here. My background in modular, I've been in modular for about 6 years. I actually started with a container-based, shipping container-based modular company, and we were doing volumetric projects out of shipping containers for affordable housing, for hotels and some different projects. And the last few years have been more involved in wood frame modular construction. I have a real passion for affordable housing. I sit on the board for a non-profit group called the Elder Statesman Group here in Calgary, active in the Calgary Community Affordable Housing Collective, which is an affordable housing group here in Calgary. The only other thing to mention in terms of who we are, I've actually got Brock Elliott, who is the manager of affordable social programs here at Horizon North. And Brock will be here to answer any questions later on when we get to the Q&A stage. Brock has had blood, sweat and tears building affordable housing for Horizon North for many years now. So he'll be a good person to answer any questions more on the technical and development side of things. So I just wanted to start with a couple of sort of things to think about really. Some quotes that I pulled out just to sort of give an idea. So from 2000 to 2015, 23 states in the US underproduced housing to the tune of 7.3 million units, or roughly 5.4% of the total housing stock in the US. So there's a huge supply issue. And then the other thing to note is that efficiency continues to elude the construction industry. Productivity has plunged by half since the late 1960s. So you've got an inefficient construction industry not producing enough housing. Just something to sort of get the ball rolling. So who are we? I work for Horizon North. We're based in sunny Canada. We're the largest in Canada. We have facilities across the country. We have 2 in the west and 1 in the east. Kamloops, Calgary, and then Grimsby out in Ontario. Grimsby is the NRB facility. NRB have been around for a long time. The markets we serve, you can see roughly by where where the blue shading is pretty much right down into the west, into the US and through the central areas there. Grimsby is pretty busy in the GTA and the Toronto region, so they're not exporting south, but that may come. So we're very active in the US. Our facilities in Kamloops and Calgary in the west. Kamloops is just under 75,000 square feet. Calgary 87,000 square feet, so substantial large scale production facilities for modules. And then NRB in the west, they've been around since 79, so they know a thing or two about how to build a module. The types of projects that we're involved with, I'll get onto affordable housing, but I just wanted to give you an idea of the types of projects that Horizon North is involved with. It's everything from sort of small scale residential to large multi-unit housing and hotels. We're doing commercial developments, small and large. We're doing quick service restaurants. So really the portfolio is very broad, and a little bit of everything. Anything that can be done in modular, we do. It's predominantly steel frame in the east and wood frame in the west. So that little difference in sort of the building material is there too. Some projects that we've done is the hostel project in Jasper, which is a substantial size hostel project. It actually won the Best in Place at the World of Modular Awards recently for first place for the hospitality segment. So that was a really, really great thing to win, and a beautiful looking project, and shows, you know, really how beautiful a modular project can be. I think you'll all agree. We're very involved in multifamily residential. This project here is in the mountain regions in Revelstoke in BC. So we do a lot of mountain parks. You can see the beautiful Canadian weather there. And then branded hotels. We do a lot of hotel hospitality work. So that's a coast hotel. We've been involved in Marriott, Hyatt, and different branded hotels too. So Horizon North, we're based in Canada and third-party certified for projects in the United States. We've got close to 300,000 square feet of manufacturing space available. We have an industry-leading quality control program and a very broad portfolio of projects that we've completed. We have significant capacity and a track record of successful project delivery. And financial strength. You know, the modular industry needs large-scale companies that can execute on large projects. So I think that's a real key point to note. We have a large bonding capacity, which is big when you're doing government work, particularly on the affordable housing side. And something else that we'll talk more about when we get more into the presentation is we work very collaboratively. We're very partnership focused. You know, with modular, you have to be engaged extremely early in the process. So we work in lockstep with any design team, general contractor, owner, developer, whatever we need to work with. We're very collaborative. And then just to note, the dollar exchange is a ridiculous discount right now. So it's a great time to use Canadian product and export south. I think the dollar exchange is 71 cents on the dollar. So, and we also have the new NAFTA 2.0. So the boxes are subject to free trade. So when I make these presentations about modular construction, obviously the word offsite is used a lot for the offsite industry, which is fairly general. So what and obviously the audience, you know, some people can be, you know, sort of modular gurus and know everything about modular. There may be people in the audience that are fairly new to modular. So bear with me, you know, I'm going to do some sort of back to basic stuff as well. But the idea, what we're talking about here in terms of what we do is volumetric modular. So it's a box completed in the factory, you know, a 3D module that's transported to the site once it's completed to say 90% complete. The site foundation will be done, and then we'll transport the boxes and crane and interconnect them on site. It meets all building codes and exceeds many standards of conventional construction, and it's indistinguishable when complete. So it's just an important point to note exactly the type of modular construction and offsite construction that we're talking about today. So what is the need for modular? We all, you know, I think we're familiar with a lot of these facts, but there's a significant skilled labor shortage and an aging construction workforce. There's a very high demand, more and more so for multifamily projects, which is very conducive to modular construction. And there's a need to build faster and more efficiently across all markets. The construction industry is facing many challenges, and it's very efficient on many levels. The low productivity levels that come from the construction industry, I think we're all, you know, a lot of us are involved in the NBI and have read the McKinsey report that came out, but there's some staggering figures that came out in terms of the inefficiency of the construction industry, which productivity has increased by just 10% in the last 20 years compared to 30% across all other sectors. You know, you think about how much the automotive industry has improved and big box retail, you know, whereas the construction industry is kind of the same as it was. low product predictability, low margins. You know, the farmer review, they said whoever wins a project is often the party that has made the largest mistake in pricing it. Quality is inadequate a lot of the time. Very adversarial pricing models, financial fragility with razor sharp tendering and the shrinking labor pool that we already spoke about. So, you know, I just wanted to talk about this because modular, you know, as we talk about its role in affordable housing, the existing status quo is not working. You know, we really need to be building more affordable housing. So there's a significant change in the construction industry that needs to happen.
Rhys, would you mind if we had a quick question from Amy Marks?
The famous Amy Marks.
Yes, wow. She's here.
Hey, Rhys. How you doing? I always support Audrey. Just a quick question so I can put this in context. Yep. So you mentioned a couple of contract manufacturers that you work with. I was on your website. I'm trying to wrap my head around the scope of what you offer. So you're not the fabricator, although you may contract the fabrication. What do you guys actually do? Like, what's your?
We are the manufacturer. So we have 3 manufacturing facilities in Canada. So we are the manufacturer.
So you bought NRB Canada? Is that you're the group who bought NRB? Okay, now I understand. Okay, so you bought NRB Canada. You own those other 2 factories. Yeah. And are you also offering financing and development with these deals, or I'm just trying to understand scope?
Yeah, we're not a developer. We're definitely the builder. But we work with any development team to put deals together.
Okay, and you're not doing any site work. You are only just fabricating then. Is that correct?
In Canada, we have done turnkey projects right through. Going into the US, we'd be more working with general contractors. So that was sort of the point on how collaborative we are. We like to get involved early. We have a good, solid design team that provides really good modular design input to the consultant team. So projects that we like to work on is when we can be involved very early and work on a design build basis.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to put this in context. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I hope that helps.
Very much so, thanks.
So we're just going to jump back into some of the benefits of modular construction. And I think that we all have seen some of these benefits associated with modular, but I think when you're thinking in the context of affordable housing, speed that modular offers is the number one. That's the number one biggest benefit of modular. So for speed, when we're looking at it in the affordable housing context, what we're talking about is getting people housed quicker. In hotels and private developments, we're looking at return on investment, whereas speed, it's about getting people into beds. Quality, providing, affordable housing developers are typically holding the asset for a long period of time. It's a long-term play. So the quality of the building and the cost, obviously with affordable housing is key, and the ease. Amy just raised the question about how we work. That design build collaborative process is not a threat. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. Having a company that can de-risk it and work closely with you, working with the operator, understanding requirements and designing the buildings accordingly is very important. And predictability in the world of affordable housing, it's a low risk, risk-averse type of development company that's doing it. So they want predictability, and predictability comes with modular. The sustainable angle of modular is huge. Building green, it's the future, and we'll talk more about that. The improved STC rating for modular buildings is critical for affordable housing. We're building, very dense multifamily buildings where we want to provide far better sound assembly ratings between floors and between walls for families to live in much better quality buildings. And safety, and then replicatability is, repeatable projects. Typically affordable housing is very repeatable. So it's a great system for modular. And then we've also seen this graphic here for construction schedule reduction. Modular provides a schedule reduction, typically up to 40 to 50% on any project, which is huge. Getting buildings built quicker for affordable housing is huge. So that's a bit of an intro and a background on Horizon North and modular. We'll now jump into the question of affordable housing and talk more about modular construction for affordable. I've done this slide here. There's a lot of text on here, but effectively, the point I wanted to get across is that affordable housing can be a little bit of an ambiguous term sometimes. It's very commonly used. You know, what does it exactly mean? I think for the context of what we're talking about, it really is an overarching term that applies to all types of housing, whether it's social housing, subsidized housing, non-market, market affordable, whatever you want to call it. It has to be based on the fact that whether it's affordable depending on your circumstances. So CMHC in Canada defines it as a household, affordable when a household spends less than 30% of its gross income on acceptable shelter. And the Department of Housing and Urban Development across in the Bay Area in California, affordable housing is endemic across North America, particularly in our urban centers. Rising housing and rent prices is outpacing income growth. And everyone is struggling, whether you're government, not-for-profit, developer, to find innovative solutions. And there's a supply issue. So the biggest thing that modular can do is build more housing quicker and add to the supply. So modular really is the ideal solution. And I just love this graphic that we use here at Horizon North. We've got a picture of some Lego blocks being lifted on a crane, because really that is what we're doing. We're just a bunch of big kids playing Lego. So the case study I want to talk about today is the BC housing, so British Columbia rapid response to homelessness. I'm going to talk in sort of high-level terms, and I mentioned Brock Elliott's on the call too, and he can add some value with questions at the end. But in 2017, the government of BC effectively made a multi-billion-dollar 10-year commitment to address affordable housing across the province. And BC Housing, which is the province's social housing agency, developed the Rapid Response to Homelessness program as one of several strategies to provide affordable housing. And the housing target has been 2,000 units using modular construction. So we'll just play a quick video intro, and hopefully you can get a flavor for what they were trying to do from their website. So we'll talk today about how we got involved in the program and how it's progressed over the last couple of years to where it is today. So the city of Vancouver, they started with the Vancouver Affordable Agency, which was tasked with developing a way to deliver on this program. There are several challenges in Vancouver's booming economy, and it's really important to note some of these characteristics, because I think they exist in many US cities right now. That make modular really conducive to its use for affordable housing. So land availability is a big issue. Approval timelines, municipal approval timelines. I mean, in California, I've never seen anything like it. Construction timelines and trade availability and cost certainty. So at the time, VAHA issued a design build RFP to the industry to develop a supportive housing project as a pilot program. The RFP was specific to modular and went out to the modular industry, and Horizon North was the successful proponent. It was design build, so they outlined their requirements that they were looking for the project, the site location, and the companies had to put in what it was that they were going to do. So Horizon North, the idea was that the site was actually a parking lot in town in Vancouver. The city was underutilized. It was kind of a waste of space because they didn't know exactly what they could do with it. They couldn't develop on it permanently. So what the modular industry was asked to do was come up with a solution whereby the project could be put on there, but it would effectively have to be relocated at some point in the future. When they say some point in the future, it could be 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. So it's temporary by design, but effectively built to the permanent building code. So working closely with the city, they were able to fast track the permits, fast track the approvals, and put a building on there. So it was a 40-unit, 3-story walk-up with single room occupancy, was delivered in 6 months from project award. So it was a real showcase for the industry and for BC Housing and Vancouver Affordable Housing Agency. And it was the first announced under the CMHC Innovation Fund. So it was a real game changer in terms of affordable housing for modular in the industry. And I think you can see there, it's a good looking building, interesting design, you know, and put on that site in as little as 6 months to house homeless people. So I'll just play a quick time lapse of how that went together. Very dramatic music, but anyway, I hope you got this good idea of how that went together. So that project was hugely successful, very high profile, really showcased what could do. You know, the government had this need, had this political will to put this program together. The city of Vancouver had a huge issue, you know, and the agency was tasked to do it. So I think Horizon North really stepped up, you know, helped them develop the program. So it takes the combination of government and political will, and also the modular industry really stepping up and getting involved and creating this program. So that particular program on the temporary foundation, it grew into 600 units in the city of Vancouver over typical buildings around 40 to 50 units. So in terms of phase 2, the design obviously improved for every project and as the program went on. So Heather Street was the next project, which built on the success of Terminal Avenue. So they were really evolving the design, and it was important to change the perception of supportive housing and modular construction industry because it was still new to a lot of people at that time. So Heather Street was another 78 units, all typically 250 square foot self-contained studios. The building had common amenity areas, and again on the triadetic steel relocatable foundation on a parking lot type scenario. Several of the exterior design features were adjusted to make the building blend more seamlessly into the community. They really wanted to try and blend it in as best they could. So that's how the Heather Street project ended up looking, which, you know, again, 3-story walk up, looks like a nice apartment building. The next phase, design phase 3, was Ash Street. So Vaha and the city continued to identify sites for modular housing across the city, and they really wanted to continually involve the design and apply learning. So Ash Street was a 52-unit program, 25,000 square feet, and came together in less than 6 months. This project was a winner at the NBI Awards of Distinction for relocatable building. Again, single room occupancy. You can see that some of the photos on the right there of the types of kitchenette, individual suites. I'll play you a quick time lapse of this one to show how this one went together. So you can see the program developed, the commitment with BC Housing was for $291 million to build over 2,000 modular supportive units. The way that they did the procurement process was a pre-qualification. So it went out to the modular industry. They said, you know, who can pre-qualify as a reputable builder to be on this program. You know, no one company can build 2,000 units. So they pre-qualified 10 modular companies. And then for each individual project, they put out an RFP for a design build project to that pre-qualified list. So it's a really good, efficient procurement system that they could use, and is a really good demonstration of how to procure a modular project in that fashion. Obviously, traditional government procurement is difficult for affordable housing when it comes to modular, because it's a little bit different. So since then, Horizon North has been involved in the construction of 664 units for the City of Vancouver, and the rapid response to homelessness, a further 797 more units across the province. So you can see in the images there, and you saw in the videos, the triadetic steel foundation. That's a relocatable foundation that makes those buildings effectively relocatable, which is, you know, by the nature of modular, a great solution. But also the other 797 units were permanent, so built on a concrete foundation or similar, to provide a permanent building that won't be moved. So the way that the program was created was that it was a very repetitive, scalable approach with a proven baseline design. So you know, a sort of kit of parts with a detailed spec guideline that could go out to the industry to make that very standardized to fast track development. Repetitive work and economies of scale resulting in fast track design development, which is key. And also permitting timelines, because the permits, you know, the city started to see these developments coming in thick and fast. And then continuous improvement, you know, Horizon North built over 1,500 units within this program. And, you know, you keep doing it, you get better and better. So that's, this map shows the nature of the number of projects. We're actually, I think we've got quite a few more on the go now. But the red ones are the permanent and the blue ones are temporary. So a number of projects across the province. So different improvements, modifications to the building facade was a big one. You know, the process allows functional building layout with the flexibility to express character. And obviously, you know, across different regions, you know, maybe in the city of Vancouver, they want something more modern. In a more rural location, they'd want something a bit more classic. But the fundamental principle of the modular building is the same, but putting a different skin, maybe a different roof. So using butterfly roofs, pitch roof overhangs, siding, trim details comes into play a lot, and color palettes, using wall murals, you know, where there's First Nations involvement. A real key to success that the modular industry pushes all the time is it's a very integrated design process. The modular builder has to be engaged early, and, you know, right through to the actual operator who's going to be operating the building. So it has to be very, very collaborative. Accessibility was a big factor. So universal design and accessibility are key considerations for any affordable housing project. Horizon North's actually partnered with the Rick Hansen Foundation. So we've created sort of a leading way to provide accessibility within buildings. So it's a sort of a predetermined program that is already within our design repertoire to put accessibility at the forefront for any design that we do. And then sustainability is a big part of the solution for building. But these buildings are going together in BC, even if they're temporary or permanent, they have to be built to a permanent code. And the step code 4 here in BC is just about as strict as you're going to get. So you know, modular, it really proves how good a modular building can be. It's effectively a passive house standard. Here's a nice video that just summarizes Horizon North's approach to the program.
We take a look at the country that we are all fortunate to live in, and quite frankly, it is shameful when you see individuals that are sleeping on the streets, that don't have affordable housing, end up couch surfing, and certainly believe as an organization, we just can't stand idly by and watch this occur. And so as an organization, we do believe that we've come up with part of the solution. And that's actually providing the units themselves that fit the profile of allowing individuals to move to their own space to regain dignity and allow for them to effectively restart their life and move back up the ladder of success.
People who are experiencing homelessness and living in the streets or in shelters in survival mode, when they are provided with a home and their immediate needs are served, like food and shelter and a private washroom to use, then it allows folks to sort of shed that survival mode mentality to be able to sort of start to focus and self-reflect and work on areas that they want to and are ready to start addressing.
When someone is out on the street, they often lose access to health care. It's unlikely that they can be employed. They don't necessarily have access to food. They have no way of preparing food. So a place like this right away gives people a roof over their head and access to food, as we have a food program as well, which allows them to get access to other things such as healthcare, and having staff around them as well to help make ties to healthcare facilities is really important.
What this place has done for me now, I'm back to work, number one. Number two, I have my own address, a place where I call home. This is my house, my home. It's going to be respected as I respect it. I take pride in where I live, and this, I couldn't be happier. This is my retirement home. It gives all of them people and myself an opportunity and a fresh start to go out and be productive in life.
That's a neat video and really shows the human side of what we're doing, which is cool. I'm just going to race through a few of the permanent projects that we've done. The Ryder Village Affordable Housing Development is a 3-story, 40-unit apartment building with a mix of studios, 1, 2, and 3-bedroom units. So it's more flexible in terms of the types of the types of suites included in the building. This is a 5-story building, which again shows, the modular can go up in height too. So it's a larger size building, 62 units of permanent supportive housing in Kamloops, which is close to our factory there. The whole building is modular, even the main floor. So the main floor is all common space, offices, amenity space, commercial kitchen. So it shows the flexibility that modular can provide. It's a good looking project. And then in terms of Grand Forks, Grand Forks is a 51,000 square foot building. It's a combination of an apartment and townhomes. It's built to Energy Step Code 3, which is a very high step code energy requirement, and provides a mix of family units and studios. So it's much more flexible. Quick video on this, and then we'll move on. I was keen to showcase this project too, because it shows the flexibility and sort of the type of location that we're building in and the type of fit and finish and functionality that these buildings provide. It demonstrates the flexibility that modular has for affordable housing. So in terms of the benefits of modular to this rapid response to housing program, faster delivery. So each project of around 50 units was completed within 4 months, including municipal approvals, which is an incredible period of time to complete a project. About 66% specifically, faster than conventional. Less site disruption was something that the city noted as a real benefit. So an expedited project schedule and more of the construction activity happening in the manufacturing plant was very, very important for the local communities that these projects are going into. Higher sustainability standards, improved STC ratings that we've talked about, and cost certainty and reduced project risk. The graphic here on the right you can find on the BC Housing website that shows their analysis of the program and what they looked at. They did a recent survey, which I just put in here, which is pretty cool. Some of the highlights: 94% of the residents remained housed at their modular building 6 months after moving in. 84% reported improvements to their overall well-being, which is super cool. Over half reported better access to employment opportunities. Over half reported improvement in life support skills. So I think you'll see, you know, a lot of these figures is a real plus. It's beyond the building and beyond the type, you know, the way it was built. If you are looking at doing modular for affordable housing, this is, you know, maybe some of the challenges that you'd be looking at. Stakeholder engagement is critical. I think I've mentioned it a few times, how it's very important to get everyone involved as early as possible. The feedback loop from one project to the next is very short due to the speed of delivery. You can't be making changes, you can't be making decisions once it's hit the shop floor. So you got to get that, you got to get all those decisions in place early. And then NIMBYism. I think we're, you know, whether you're in Denver or whether you're in California, whether you're up in Calgary, you know, you're going to face NIMBYism. It's just something that's happening, and the program paid a lot of attention to. So it's something we can help with, and it's a part of a very engaged process. They did try to stop some of the developments that Horizon North were involved with, but were unable to. And some of the strategies that we used were building developments and density were limited, so that they could spread through the communities. And the developments were typically limited to 50 units each, which helped. And a big thing that Horizon North did was we actually built a show suite that could be transported and dropped into a site location so that people could come through and look and say, wow, this is a neat unit. This looks great, you know, and it was really helped with the profile of the program. You know, as the program developed, it got easier, but in the early days, you know, people are like, oh, modular, you know, they've got that memory of like a dank classroom they were in you know, many years ago. The modular industry's come a long way, but still many people don't know about the, you know, how much the modular industry has improved with the types of buildings that are being put together, plus obviously with supportive housing. So that's a background on the rapid response to affordable housing, homelessness. I'll just talk about how we believe the affordable housing modular can grow in the affordable housing industry in general. I think impacts from COVID-19 is something to be raised. No one really knows. I don't think I can add any value in terms of what's going to happen, but it is undoubtedly going to happen is that you know, the affordable housing issue is going to be heightened. You know, and the pandemic has highlighted the pressing need for speed. Whether it's, you know, emergency facilities, emergency housing, and supportive housing projects. So modular has a place and it has a possibility to provide a really good solution here. You know, whether the modular industry potentially can, you know, really step up with pre-designed immediate deployment solutions for the next pandemic. It seems like everyone's been running around with their hair on fire right now, sort of working out what the hell to do. You know, so we're, as a company, working really hard on coming up with solutions that are pre-designed next time round. Everyone saw the way that the Chinese put that hospital together. You know, there's no way they came up with that overnight. That was really well thought through and pre-planned. So I talked about what we've done in Vancouver, and it's just kicking off the same program in Toronto. So Create TO is a city program similar to Vaha and Vancouver, and Horizon North has just signed a deal to do 110 units, which will be their pilot program. Toronto is one of the fastest growing cities in North America. They've already committed to 250 units of modular supportive housing. The COVID crisis has really escalated that up the political agenda a lot quicker. So watch this, see what happens there, and maybe we can push it into some other major cities across the US. It's happening in San Jose right now. LA has a similar program. San Jose is doing something called a bridge housing program utilizing modular construction. I understand the commitment is for up to 500 prefab modular homes. They're starting with 80 units that Habitat for Humanity in San Jose is doing. So super cool program and another exciting thing for modular. I always like to sort of say this point that modular is nothing new. It's certainly on a wave right now, but modular has been around for a long time. It's market conditions that are really heightening the modular angle and really pushing why modular is so valued. So a few things that we want to do as an industry that really can help push modular along. I think collaboration is key. We've talked about it, getting involved with, with the NBI, with different organizations, working closely with clients and operators, really spreading the word and trying to gain traction across a wider spectrum. Be open and sharing. Presentations like this are great, getting involved in the modular community. We like to do factory tours as much as we can. It's always amazing when you've been talking to a client about things, but when they actually come through the plant and come and see it and touch and feel the boxes and the manufacturing facility, you can see, you can see their eyes light up and they get really excited. So we do project tours, we do set events. I talked about how we put a show suite on the project site. So that's a really big thing, is to be really open. No one wants to sort of protect what we're doing. We want to share and do some creative marketing and promotion around, just like what Modular Sure Site is doing for the industry. It's fantastic. Education is huge for us. We have to be, involved in modular education. Modular is still fairly new, so we get out to the, the development community, not-for-profits, government, provide as much support as we can to the design community, so that architects understand how to design these buildings. We're very involved in BIM and Revit and virtual reality to show, using the latest construction software to showcase how these buildings will look. And standardize, it'd be really cool how the BC Housing Program has really standardized the design and standardized systems and details. It's a bit of a Wild West in modular right now, how everyone's doing it slightly different. It'd be great to see how modular, standardized programs for affordable housing can be created, where any factory across the US could build it. The more projects go modular is better for everyone. So industry standard contracts, procurement models, and line of sight on how that looks. It creates economies of scale and lower building costs. Quantify too, quantify the value of modular. It's not just cheaper, faster, and better all the time. There's, we like to talk about the real value points of modular for affordable housing. And when I say quantify, also quantify capacity in North America. I think that's a big deal. The BC Housing Program, they wanted to say, hey, we want to do 2,000 units of modular supportive housing. But they could only do that if they knew that the modular industry could step up and actually build 2,000 units of modular housing. So that quantifying of capacity, you think about the Colorado region, a lot of the factories after the GFC closed down, so there isn't the supply there. So where else are they looking? Is it Idaho? Is it up into Canada? Is it out in different locations? So it's really understanding the capacity availability when you're talking about thousands and thousands of units of affordable housing. So if you can create a clear picture for the investment community and the development community, I think that will help. Get out there and lobby the governments. The government needs to know that modular is open for business. Create TO in Toronto. In the middle of that picture there is Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, at the NRB facility out in Grimsby, Ontario. There was a lot of political will and lobbying to get them excited about modular, but them understanding that, modular could come through for them. And also, you know, the political season is short. If there's an election coming up and they want to get some projects built, modular is the solution and the way to do that. Advances in technology and automation, that's not my, you know, really my expertise, but something that modular can really jump on, can really embrace, you know, mass customization and BIM and VR, robotics and 3D modeling. There's the development of these technologies is changing so fast, and doing that in a factory environment is a lot easier than doing it on a site. So forging ahead, the future looks bright. Modular has the potential to become the IKEA of the construction world. Improving technology can ensure completing construction projects on time and on budget is the standard rather than the exception. So just a quick summary, I think modular has a huge part to play. You know, we talked about the pandemic and affordable housing, and we believe it's going to be heightened. So modular will go from startup to mainstream in this world, and we can really, you know, grow hugely exponentially in terms of, you know, housing for affordable housing. So let's all keep innovating and keep pushing. I'm going to stop it there and open it up for questions.
Go ahead, Karen. Yeah, at the end, you might.
Thanks, Audrey. I was asking you to clarify. I think I realized later that you were only talking about one project in particular that you said was built to, I believe you said effectively passive house standard. And I thought that you were suggesting that all of these projects had been built to that code. And later on, you're not familiar with the Canadian codes. You were referring to energy codes 3 and 4. Can you just elaborate on that? And then specifically, I was curious if that was a requirement from the factory, and that's just kind of your standard.
So to clarify, they're not built to passive house, but that's not actually a requirement that the projects are putting out. But the step code in BC is extremely hard to achieve. Brock, are you able to jump in?
Yeah, yeah, I am, Rhys. So can you hear me?
Yeah, thanks, Brock.
Perfect, thanks, Rhys. First of all, great work. So in response to your question, it was, so the most recent version of this building, the last one that we installed was completed to the BC Energy Step Code 3. Now the Energy Step Code 3 is a target set forth by BC Housing provincially, and one that they mandated on their projects. They did give us some leeway to achieve this. So actually the second iteration of this building, which Rhys showed us, which was the Heather building, was built to essentially a step code 2.5. It was a stepping stone in between 220 Terminal and the Olympic Village project that Rhys showed us to move to step code 3. So these were built to step code 3 of the BC Energy Step Code, and now we're working towards actually step 4 here in BC when working with BC Housing. So to answer your question, it was a client requirement. However, in various jurisdictions, in particular Vancouver, they do have these as actually requirements of their building permit process. So Vancouver actually uses what's called the GHGI, as they have their own authority over building code. And essentially, it takes the step code 3 and even takes it to a further level. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, in the US, oftentimes the housing authority will require us to meet Energy Star, which is, you know, generally 15% better than a code built home. So how do these compare in terms of better than the minimum code? You know?
Yeah, great question. So some of the recent projects, in particular the one that Rhys had brought up, which was the Anhart Ryder Village project, was 30% more efficient.
That's pretty significant. Well, thank you. I appreciate that question, Karen. Troy, do you want to ask Rhys a question?
Hi, Rhys. Troy here in Seattle. Great presentation. Wanted to ask you about market rate housing. You know, great this is obviously a great answer for affordable housing, but also affordable market rate housing is a big missing piece, and wondering what you all are doing, whether it's in condo development or townhome development or detached accessory dwelling unit type product.
Yeah, good question. That was sort of the point I was trying to raise earlier in the presentation about how affordable housing is quite a general term. But if it is anything market rate but affordable or purpose-built rental target, works for modular. When there's an element of repeatability and consistency across the project, if it's not a condo development where every owner of the units is going to be requesting a different color finish and a different type of granite, that's not what we're involved in. So we are involved in a lot of market rate affordable housing projects, and we're in early design on a lot of those projects too. So the program that we highlighted today was mostly on the supportive housing side for the government. Good program to talk about, but there's a lot of developers that, and right now with, another offshoot of COVID and the pandemic will be, maybe a lot of these developments will be shifting from, what would otherwise have been a condo project into a rental project, which is typically what we would focus on.
Thank you. Who else had a question? Marshall, do you have a question? Are you with us?
Yes, I am, Margie. Thanks. Thanks for your presentation, Rhys. I have a question here. I'm in Denver. I work with Urban Land Conservancy. We do a lot around affordable housing, working with development partners to construct affordable housing. And Denver is not unlike any other city across the country where you highlighted the serious and severe lack of development of affordable housing. What we as in the industry of affordable housing in the U.S. has been limited by has been the access to low-income housing tax credits. That's been the biggest development tool for affordable housing. About 65-70% of the affordable housing that's been developed across the country has used a tax credit program. And I was wondering, just the financing tool that you have seen used in Canada, and if you've seen any other across the U.S. that have made financing for affordable housing more accessible.
That's a good question and warrants quite a long answer. I think what I can share is that in Canada, the BC housing, the government effectively committed $291 million to the program. Is that going to happen where you are? I don't think that's how it happens, right? So it does need innovative, different ways to do it. And it's not, I don't think it's something I can comment. Maybe there's other people who could, within the group here that could provide a better answer. Modular, the part that modular has to play is the de-risk, is the engagement, is the fixed contracts, is the opportunity for clever financing. But there's a big story to tell beyond how the deals are structured for sure.
I think that's our biggest challenge here in the U.S. We've got to have a commitment from the government to something a little bit, expanding the tax credit program or something more, because it is not reaching the amount of development and housing needs that are required.
Yeah.
Rhys, can you hear me?
Yep.
I guess one of the things, and this kind of goes with what Mark is saying, that we have to compete for them also. So those and I was just kind of wondering, in Canada, you said you had $291 million put out by the Housing Authority. Do the developers have to compete for that?
The operators do. Yeah, the operators do.
They do have to compete just like we do here, because our Housing Authority only issues those tax credits based on the way they're set up, maybe once, twice a year, and we have to compete for them. So that, I guess, is what extends the time frame for any kind of a project. The modular goes up quicker when it comes to the construction phase of it, but on the affordable side here versus the private side, it could add it could add 3 months to 9 months more on the pre-construction side of it, which is part of that. I was just wondering if they had to compete for that money.
Yeah, maybe Brock, if you're still there, if you can shed some light on it. But the best thing with BC Housing is that they create the program to roll out the way that operators can get hold of that money and get it built and delivered, in terms of, the cost certainty and speed.
Yeah, exactly. So there, as Rhys put it, there is an application process to get the money and the project approval, the project funding approval through BC Housing. Now, what BC Housing does proactively and does a very good job at is pre-qualifying operators and not-for-profits as well as design builders to streamline that process. With the pre-quals, they're vetting everybody from credit to performance, past history, capacity, capabilities, so on and so forth. So that's a step that they take in order to be proactive to kind of streamline that pre-construction process once a project has actually been awarded, or as you're actually going through a formal RFP process, depending on the procurement strategy of BC Housing.
Can somebody get that program in the United States and quickly? Any other questions? Wow, Rhys, that was an amazing presentation. I have to say, I love the videos inside there and being able to see the projects. It's so helpful for individuals that are starting to understand this and get involved in it. It's so helpful, and it's so needed. And it's so great because we have so many people here that are interested in figuring that out. It's great. Mark, did you have something that you wanted to add? Mark Willie?
I think Rhys, that program, how you said how that funding works in BC, I just agree wholeheartedly with Audrey. It's what's missing in the industry. Is waiting for the dirt to be turned over for funding to kick in is going to be more the same. So I applaud you guys for your efforts in expediting the industry, not just the quality and the process.
Thank you, Mark.
Great.
That. If there's not any other questions, we're going to wrap it up. We're just at a little bit over the hour. Rhys and everyone, I had let you know in the chat that I will be uploading this and creating a video for use later on. And Rhys is always available. I mean, he is so active on LinkedIn. So if you're not there, make sure to connect with him for sure, along with everybody else. It's so great that everyone's able to share their information. It's nice that we can build a community, because that's really what we're trying to do here. We're trying to help each other and be more progressive in opening up this industry. So thank you very, very much. I most appreciate it. And our next event is going to be on Tuesday, June 9th at 8:30 in the morning, Mountain Standard Time. We have a special guest, which is going to be Bruce Thompson with Urban Air Living, and they've created this amazing ADU developed product, which is an accessory dwelling unit. So we hope that you can enjoy us. I will be sending out that link to you so that you will all have that probably most likely tomorrow, because my daughter graduates high school today. We're having a parade and it's like, get your diploma in your car day today. So should be very interesting. Rhys, did you have anything else that you'd like to close with?
No, just thanks again for having us. We really appreciate the opportunity. It's quite a surreal experience doing a presentation on Zoom, but it's the world we live in. So thanks again.
You did a great job. And thank you again to our partners, the Art of Construction, Mountain View Window and Doors, Academy Mortgage, and 303 Development, and especially yours truly, Modular Sure Site. I hope you guys all have a wonderful evening. Take care of yourselves, be healthy, and we look forward to seeing you on our next presentation. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Audrey. Thanks, Rhys.
Thank you. This was super.
Thank you.